If they block you, wreck 'em. Sorry, this one we're jumping straight into it. No lube. I'm busting down the door to this freak off with nothing but a plan and a mission. I just saw this video recently on Reels, and it made me so angry I absolutely had to talk about it and share it with you guys. I'll give you the quick Shark Tank pitch telling you what we're going to be getting into here today. So we're riding on board with this guy right here in the red suit named Christoph. I'll link his video down below, and our main focus is going to be our Batman villain of this story with that red arrow pointing to him up ahead. Now, unlike many Batman stories, this one does not involve heroes and villains. This one is just a villain and people who have not stepped up to take the villain down. This video, while just being wild and kind of interesting, also I think displays some parts of driving that people don't really talk about that I would really like to express here, because this is a very extreme case and you can find people like this in the real world, and there is a proper way on how to deal with them, which does not get handled here in this video. So I kind of want us to go through it, get the whole lowdown on everything that happened, and then I really want to kind of turn this into a teachable moment and talk about how things here could have been avoided or done better. Starting off innocently enough, the guy doesn't seem like there's that much of a problem with him. We're a little bit elbows out, kind of trading positions, racing back and forth, but nothing is an issue so far until now. So Christoph here poses us with a philosophical question, saying, now this looks kind of intentional, or am I wrong? Either way, it gets better. Deep quotes, deep quotes. No, 100% that was intentional. That was absolutely unacceptable, and it is the first of many unacceptable things that this writhing little slimy waste of oxygen does during our time here. Christoph getting a nice clean move there on the inside, gets around this guy, but he just didn't like that. He threw down his big lollipop and took off his rainbow propeller cap and said, that is absolutely unacceptable. Now you've made baby angry. So he runs into the back of Christoph and then runs super wide off the corner, pushing him almost off into the dirt, to then get the position back on him. These carts that we're on board with here are from a brand called Sodi, very popular for their rental cart fleet, as well as some competition carts as well. Now these Sodi carts I'm very familiar with. They're a little bit more amped up compared to your typical kind of MB2 indoor karting style go-karts. These go-karts will run at about 45, 50 miles an hour on the faster end in a straight line. So they're pretty quick, but when it comes to how much momentum they're carrying, they're not really that fast. Now the reason I'm bringing this up is I'm already pulling out my BS alarm here on this idiot next to us, because there is absolutely no reason why, after intentionally rear-ending the cart in front of you and using them as the brakes, that you would actually need this much real estate to run it all the way out to the outside to clear the corner. This is a blatantly intentional attempt at shoving Christoph here off track. Everything thus far, I have entire 100% certainty that it was done intentionally, but that's just me and my intuition and my experience. People may have different opinions, and that's fine. This, however, is absolutely undeniable. I want you guys to notice the way that the camera here is facing, because this camera is attached to Christoph's helmet, meaning that the camera is facing whichever way his head is turned. Now, in a typical driving sense, everything from racing on track to on the street, you're always going to be turning your head into the corner you're turning into. You're always going to keep your eyes focused on where you want to go. Now, as I'm explaining this, I'm sure you guys can see where I'm going with this. Because if you take a nice little gander over to our absolutely disgusting human being over here to our right, he doesn't seem to be looking into that corner, does he? He seems to be looking to the left. But we're coming up to a right-hand corner, so what would be to the left? oh, it's a go-kart that's faster than him, and he is now directly turning into him and shoving him off track into the grass. Now this, for me personally, is the exact moment where I would absolutely stop entertaining this. And unfortunately for us here, Christoph does not share that same opinion as me. He continues to put up with this for the next 2 races, and things only escalate from there. This moment right here, I'm out for blood, because clearly nothing seems to be happening, and it's getting to a point where it is an actual danger. Once again, Goober gets throttled by race control because now they have their eye on him and can see how much of an unchecked menace he is being. For those who don't know, getting your kart throttled means that the guys running the event have remote controls for all of the kart's power levels. They have every kart set to the same level so that it's an even race. But if someone starts acting a bit out of turn, like this guy here, they will throttle back that kart's power and slow them down, so that way they are less of an obstacle to the other drivers around them. But from what we'll see here, and unfortunately for what Christoph is about to find out, this guy doesn't care about being faster. He only cares about staying in front. This moment right here, I find absolutely unacceptable. I'm only speculating here. I don't know anything here for sure. But this man was just throttled. He now has significantly lower straight line speed than any other kart around him. So you're telling me, unless he was put back up to racing speed, which at this point, I can't wrap my head around, he was able to get enough speed to run it down this straightaway and just dive bomb the inside and run into this guy again. This guy's one rental kart race away from the Formula 1 World Championship, or at least that's what he'd have you thinking when he's 80 years old talking about how important this race was to him. So now they throttle this guy again, and once again, he runs Christoph off onto the dirt, sending the kart airborne. Now, I've already felt this way for a significant amount of this video, but now it's been long enough for me to say it. I'm pissed at Christoph here. Christoph absolutely needs to stand up for himself here. He's being a pushover like SpongeBob weightlifting. This guy is intentionally trying to not just keep you behind him, but he is legitimately trying to hurt you. A lot of these previous moves aren't just bumping him off onto the grass a little bit. He's pushing him off onto hills, onto dirt, pushing him straight at concrete walls. It's like watching Wile E. Coyote try to kill the Roadrunner, and the Roadrunner just isn't doing anything about it. It's absolutely insane. It's craziness. It is unacceptable behavior, and everyone around it is just letting it happen. And it still doesn't stop here. Now we're getting to absolute pandemonium. This guy is public enemy number 1, and my god, there's no hero willing to stand up for us and stop him. This is what Gotham would look like if the Joker ran unchecked, if Two-Face did whatever he wanted, if Mr. Freeze froze whatever he freezin' felt like. There's now starting to become a full traffic jam of other carts behind this guy here. The officials standing at the starting line, at the flagger stand, with the controls to stop him! are all just watching. Nobody's doing anything. Why is everyone just letting this guy get away with it? It's like if you were standing out in the middle of a playground and one kid was just walking around pushing every child off of the playground whenever they saw them, and everyone just waited for it to be their turn to get pushed. Why? This right here is separate from any advice that I would give. I would not advise that anyone do this. This quote right here would have me holding back everything in my power to not catch an assault charge over a go-kart race. Absolutely zero remorse whatsoever and zero interest in self-reflection when every single person around him is actively trying to tell him that he's wrong. What an absolute waste of space. They should honestly confiscate his car keys to make sure that he doesn't get behind the wheel to drive to or from anywhere again. If this is how this guy drives on a karting track, imagine how he is in traffic. So now we see the repercussions of Kristoff being a weenie for far too long. All these other karts have now overtaken him. He has now lost position in his race from the traffic that this absolute waste of a man has caused. Kristoff's race is suffering here from something that, purely in its own situation, is no fault of his own. But his consequences that he's now facing for something he didn't cause are entirely at the fault of him not taking matters into his own hands. And finally, after what felt like an eternity, Race Control finally turned off the menace. They have euthanized that dog in him. Imagine being the genuine worst person ever and looking over like that, wondering what went wrong. How void of any level of self-reflection and human decency do you have? And that's pretty much where that story ends. So now that we've seen this entire experience in full, I want to get into how I would have handled this situation. If this was me driving in this go-kart race, this guy probably still would have been an unchecked menace, but he would have been doing it from behind me. I would have seen that initial move right at the start of him pit maneuvering the other kart. That was not an accident. You could watch it the first time and see blatantly that that's not an accident. He turned that steering wheel left and spun the kart. That is an immediate red flag. I'm already very aware of this guy, and I know to drive carefully when I'm around him. Now, Kristoff going for that clean move after the fact, totally fine. You don't need to race him super aggressively yet. He hasn't done anything to you. And then he bumps him, runs him wide. That's one strike. Immediately after that first move, that is one strike gone. I'm now upping my level of aggression racing against this guy. So after that very first move of getting rear-ended and then shoved wide off the track, I am now already entirely aware of that is how we are going to be racing from now on. I would now be racing him the exact same way. I would go for a move and take a very strong-armed approach in making sure that he doesn't have a way to come back on me, because that is the style of racing that he has now established that we will be doing. Now, even further still, the very next time that there was a move, when I paused it earlier, when they're coming into that right-hand hairpin, and he turns left and immediately shoves Kristoff onto the grass. That is the moment where I would understand that matters need to be taken into my own hands, and I need to dump him back. Now, some of you may be sitting here thinking, oh, Aiden, that's really mean. What if you hurt him? He started it. I don't care. I'm racing, I've spent my money to be here, I'm not being held up by someone who sucks. I wouldn't intentionally try and run him off into a concrete wall and hurt him like he would, but absolutely, if there is a place to put him off where I can get out in front, I will now do that. It's great that Race Control throttled his kart back and eventually cut power on it, but as you can see, it took so long for them to intervene, and a lot of times, places won't intervene at all. So you'll just be stuck there fighting with this guy who's just constantly racing like this, and you need to handle yourself out there. So that is exactly why I say that Kristoff handled this situation extremely poorly. He's not the one in the wrong, of course, but there are times in racing where you do just simply need to get down and dirty with the other car. You can't show weakness. It's still a competition. Even if it seems silly, if they're racing you hard, you have to race them hard back, and that's how it is. But that's pretty much it. This guy sucks. I hope Kristoff has had better races since having to deal with this guy, and hopefully maybe he learned a little something about not being pushed around so much out there, because it really is upsetting to see. He does seem like a chill guy who just wanted to have a nice clean race, and unfortunately had to pay the price for it because someone else didn't care to do that. So be careful, stay safe out there, but don't allow people to push you around. You're a good driver, and I know you are, and you can show them what for. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and thank you guys for watching.